first time I ever laid eyes on a work that was either derived from Osamu Tezuka or by Osamu Tezuka was when I was forced to sit through the film The One, starring Jet Li. And believe me, the less said about that film, the better. Anyway, before the film, I saw some previews, because it was on VHS, and VHS had some extras. One of the previews was for an anime film called Metropolis. Now, for those of you who've actually been following my videos, and I give great kudos to you if you have, I had previously discussed Metropolis in my top 10 anime films list. Everything you need to hear about what I have to say about this film can be summed up in this clip.
Metropolis. Osamu Tezuka is my favorite manga artist of all time, and rightly so. His output and contribution to the manga industry is immeasurable, incomparable, and insurmountable. He wrote over 100,000 pages of comics, and even on his deathbed, yes, even when he was dying of stomach cancer, he still kept on drawing. That is what I call a determinator. And Metropolis is the piece de resistance of Tezuka adaptations. Astro Boy, Kimba, Blackjack, you can keep them. Metropolis is the real masterpiece of the god of manga. I really have no other nice things to say about this film that haven't already been said. Other than, I love it. 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 I love every little tiny microscopic thing about it. I loved every wonderful, beautiful, fabulous audience-praising moment of it. I loved the ridicule that one would receive had they not liked the film. I loved the compliment to its audience by the belief that everyone will love it. And everyone does love it. And I love it.
The day may come when Metropolis is seen as a milestone of contemporary Japanese animated cinema, but the day will never come when I stop loving it. Good stuff. Anyway, I'm sure you didn't come here to listen to me gush again about how much I like Metropolis. Although admittedly, that's what I was about to do anyway, so let's cut to the chase. Now, back to The One. As I sat through the preview of this Metropolis movie, I was pretty impressed with the visuals, the art style, heck, I was even impressed with the announcer. Listen.
TriStar Pictures proudly presents a futuristic vision where robots have evolved, but mankind has a long way to go.
Good stuff. As I continued to sit through the preview, I heard the phrase, the godfather of Japanese animation, and then some Japanese name. And I thought to myself, godfather of Japanese animation, huh? Maybe this movie is worth a look. And after that, I didn't give it much thought. Any thought, actually. For like 3 or 4 years. It wasn't until about 2005 or 2006 that I started to become interested in it once again. I was reading up on Fritz Lang's Metropolis, because every manga fan worth his salt knows for a fact that Tezuka's Metropolis was inspired by Lang's Metropolis. And I was reminded a little bit of Tezuka's masterwork. Well, actually it was far from his masterwork. In fact, he himself grew to hate it later in his life. But at least I liked it. As it turned out, Dark Horse, the publishers of such cult classics as Hellboy, Sin City, and of course, Trigun, had translated an English version of the Metropolis manga. In fact, I have it right here. Let's see. See? See? Huh? Good stuff. As I read through my first Tezuka manga, I was pretty astounded. It was just so bloody different. It looked just like a Disney cartoon. In fact, Tezuka himself was inspired by Disney cartoons, and even put a few of them in his manga. I wish I could show some of that to you, but I'd probably get my butt handed to me by copyright lawyers. I knew right then and there that it was true manga love at first sight. I loved Tezuka's work, and I had to see more of it. I browsed Amazon, like I always do when I want something, and found Amazon has a lot of stuff. No, I found that Amazon has a lot of Tezuka's stuff. I never knew that so much of Tezuka's work was published in English. Of course, what has been published in English is probably less than a 16th of what's been published in Japan, but as Tony J would say,
well, those are the breaks.
Good stuff. Anyway, of course I knew that Tezuka made Astro Boy, but I wanted something else than that. Then, I saw it. Ode to Kirihito, or Kirihito-sanka as it is known in Japan, was the first mature manga by Tezuka to be published in English. Published by Vertical in 2006, Ode to Kirihito tells the tragic story of a doctor who contracts the mysterious Manmo disease and frantically tries to find a cure before it gets worse. This Manmo disease is a terrible condition that turns normal humans into dog people. I'm not going to show you what I'm thinking right now. The biggest thing that surprised me was that there was gratuitous sex and nudity and some graphic violence. Whoa. Looking back on it, it may not have been a very good idea to go stampeding towards the adult section without becoming more mature myself. But I went and did it anyway. And look at me now! I'm just as rotten as ever! But nonetheless, I was still impressed with what I read. I still have what I read, actually. It's right over there. Check it out. Huh? See? See? And look, it's a slip thingy. Anyway, yeah. Good stuff. But I still wanted more. Because I'm greedy and selfish like that. So, long story short, I went on to read through his more mature works like M.W., The Book of Human Insects, and even some more of his shonen works like Dororo and Blackjack. Good stuff. Okay, rewind to the year 2001. I wasn't reading as much manga as I would later in life.
Except Parasite.
But at least I was reading something. Anyway, the condensed version of this very, very long story is I found out that they were making a movie of Parasite, which never did get made, and Astro Boy, which eventually did get made. It had a long and troubled production, with Genndy Tartakovsky acting as director at one point. But then, a Hong Kong-based studio, Imagi Entertainment, produced the Astro Boy movie, and on October 23rd, 2009, it was finally released in the States. And this is what it looked like.
You got it, sir. We're coming home.
You okay?
Send in the peacekeeper, now. Is this thing on?
What the f? It was one of the ugliest things I had ever seen in my life. It wasn't even the funny kind of ugly either. It was just ugly. I can't even come up with a decent analogy for how ugly it was. It was just that ugly. I didn't see it in the theaters, and I had no interest in seeing it. But then, a year later, I was bored and I couldn't sleep, so I decided to brave it. It was even worse than I thought. Not only was it ugly as all hell, the writing and voice acting was so lame, you'd think it had polio. What? Even Nicolas Cage, an actor most noted for some of the most hammy performances ever, sounded like he didn't want to be there. By the way, yes, this animated movie did indeed have an all-movie star cast that included Freddie Highmore, Kristen Bell, Bill Nighy, Donald Sutherland, Samuel L. Jackson, Nathan Lane, Charlize Theron, Eugene Levy, and even David Alan Grier. And even Ryan Stiles. More than half of these actors barely have more than 2 or 3 scenes, let alone lines. This is a travesty. The character design, the animation, the petty excuse for acting, the lazy dialogue, everything about this film stinks to high heaven. But in its defense, at least it's not as bad as The One. Or The Transporter. Or the I'll stop right there. Well, anyway, I guess there's not much left I can say about how awesome Osamu Tezuka is. After all, every nice thing there is to say about him has already been said anyway. But I guess some honorable mention should be made of his animation, so I'll just play a little bit of that.